Touchdown! Trey Tucker! To the end zone it goes! Caught! Touchdown! Armon Benz!
Little flipped intro, and you know what that means, people. It's the back half of the year, and it's almost time for football season. Bearcat Blitz coming at you right now on the Believe Network, presented by Bet Online. I'm your host, Russ Eltman. He is my co-host, Neil Meyer, here on whatever podcast feed you check out, Google, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, whatever medium you choose us to listen to. Check us out there, subscribe, rate, and review, and also check out the YouTube page, Talking Cats with Russ Eltman. You can see all of the shows there as well. Neil Meyer in with me from the frontofficenews.com and Cincinnati Bearcats on SI. You can catch me there as well, Cincinnati Bearcats on SI, for all the coverage of Bearcats football and basketball. Some stuff to get to, plenty of stuff to get to today, as we have a offensive storyline preview for fall camp. It starts in the next week. We're about a little less than a week away from fall camp starting, and a little less than 2 weeks away from the team taking their annual trip out to Camp Higher Ground in Indiana. But before all that, and before some recruiting news we got to get to, tell you about Bet Online. It's the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything online sports betting. Right now, you can receive a 50% free bet of up to $250 on your first deposit to bet on anything from the Olympics. 6 Bearcats in the Olympics competing over the next couple of weeks, starting on July 26th through August 11th. So make sure to check out all the Bearcats and their events, ranging from hammer throw to soccer and volleyball. Also, baseball and Formula One racing available on Bet Online. They have every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE for your 50% welcome bonus free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet Online. The game starts here. Neil, we're so close to the pads clacking at Nippert Stadium and Camp Higher Grounds practice field. All the same, very excited about that. Before we get into the show, let's get a message from our great sponsors, and we'll get back into it. Just a little over a week away from the action starting to happen around Bearcats football, still sitting roughly at about a 5.5 overall win total entering this season. They were unfortunately power ranked, Neil, 81st nationally by PFF last week, below the likes of Bowling Green, to show you just how far this program has fallen in the 2 years since they were one of the final 4 teams alive in the sport of college football. A long road to climb, and that road begins in just about a week or so, and especially a long road really for both sides of the ball, but it's not going to go anywhere unless the quarterback situation is figured out and solidified and confidently solved going into the season. That's the number one storyline for me to start our offensive fall camp storylines. How quickly can Brendan Sorsby secure the mantle of starting quarterback? If you're a Bearcats fan, you're hoping to see this. You're hoping to hear from Scott Satterfield that he is wowed after the first week, that he can't keep Brendan Sorsby away from first team reps, that he can't believe how quickly Brendan Sorsby has acclimated to this playbook. That's exactly what you want to hear. You do not want to hear about a true competition happening. That is not what you want at all, considering just the overall talent ceiling that we know Brady Lichtenberg has and what he showed in horrible play last year in his time getting snaps for Cincinnati in the Big 12. It was really, really bad what he produced last year. There's just no other way to cut it. And he should not be a competitor in this QB competition as long as Brendan Sorsby lives up to the billing he had in high school, lives up to the ceiling he had and showed at Indiana last year, and lives up to the acclimation of getting used to the Scott Satterfield and Brad Glenn offense, as he's had months and months to acclimate to this playbook. It's the number one storyline for me, Neil. And if you're a Bearcats fan, you're hoping the storyline is wrapped up a lot quicker than the projected last week of fall camp announcing a number one starter. You want this starter to be identified and clear as early as possible, and you want that starter to be Brendan Sorsby. And if it's not Brendan Sorsby starting, Neil, I don't see how this team can win 6 games.
Yeah, and it's a great thing you mentioned the quarterback battle, Russ. Obviously, that's going to be the number one topic that people really are going to keep an eye on and focus on for Cincinnati throughout this offseason as they progress through fall camp. But as you mentioned, the quarterback battle, Brendan Sorsby, Brady Lichtenberg, Scott Satterfield even mentioned Samaj Jones is in that competition as well after addressing the media at Big 12 Media Days just a few weeks ago. So it's going to be interesting to see how this battle plays out. I know he did say that he was not looking to name a starter until maybe towards the last week or so of camp. But Russ, as you mentioned, it would be something where you really would hope that Brendan Sorsby would take this competition and run away with it. And after seeing what he did at Indiana last season, I mean, his best 2 games came versus Illinois and Penn State. He had a 3-touchdown performance versus Penn State, and Penn State was one of the better teams in the Big Ten last season. So that says a lot about what Brendan Sorsby is. But Russ, we also talked to him after the spring season, after the spring camp, and he said he was still about a 6 or a 7 on how comfortable he knew this playbook. But now the question is, heading into fall camp, will he take that extra step and be towards a 9 or a 10 or an 8 to a 10 range heading into fall camp? But that's going to be the biggest thing on the offensive side is, does Brendan Sorsby translate from the Big 10 to the Big 12? Obviously, he had limited action at Indiana, but he has multiple years of eligibility left, and he flashed during the season last year with Indiana. So it's going to be interesting for that quarterback battle, Russ. But for me, the offensive storylines, I think the biggest thing for me is the offensive line returning and the depth that they were able to bring in for the offensive line. Obviously, anytime you can return all 5 starters on an offensive line, you're set, basically. And then you look down at the stats last year, 217.4 yards on the ground per game, 5th in the country in rushing attack. If you're Corey Kiner, Evan Pryor, Chance Williams, you're looking down and you see that, you're pretty freaking happy. And you turn around and next thing you know, you look at what the offensive line did. Coach Cardwell did a great job at going out and getting those depth pieces. I mean, you look at Ethan Green, Xavier Lozowiski, Zach Clark, Aiden Pastorzia. There's quite a few different guys that are able to fill in, Russ. And I think that was the biggest thing last season was they had their solid 5 guys. But from everything we're hearing, Russ, this could be something where some things could shake out heading into fall camp where a guy like Xavier Lozowiski could come in and really make a push for one of those starting tackles. You hear it all offseason about how the coaches are impressed for him to really come in and maybe get that valuable time there on the offensive line. It's going to be interesting to see that competition at the offensive line and what that depth looks like. But, man, I think the depth is the big because obviously everybody knows the rushing attack is going to be one of the main focuses in Scott Satterfield's offense. They like what to do with the inside zone. It's going to be very fun to see a whole offensive line returning, Corey Kiner returning as well, another 1,000-yard running back. See what he'll be able to do behind that offensive line and see how Cincinnati progresses from year 1 to year 2.
DeAndre Buford, he has a lot to prove in this fall camp after not tallying any offensive grades on PFF above 64.2 last season. He averaged out to a 47.7, Neil. Easily the worst performer along the offensive line at the right tackle position. And Xavier Lozowiski, no experience in the college ranks at right tackle, but he's played right guard, he's played left guard, he's played left tackle, and he performed admirably last year at the FCS level, I will say that, but very well as a freshman. 243 total snaps. He tallied an 86 overall grade. 98.5 pass blocking grade. Dude is just a brick wall in pass blocking, and a 78.4 run blocking grade compared to DeAndre Buford's 47.5 run blocking grade. Just imagine what you could do if you have a mauler, a road grader, a guy who can destroy Big 12 defensive ends on both sides of the ball, because John Williams came on very strong last year after starting a little slow. He, I think, is cemented as the starting left tackle. It would take a lot for him to get eclipsed, but to me, that right tackle job should be wide open. DeAndre Buford has to prove he hasn't proved over his first few years in college. He has to prove that he can beat out a guy like Xavier Lozowiski, who is younger, maybe who knows how hungry he is, and a guy that has mixed experience at a lot of different spots and has the size to be able to get this done. When you look at Xavier Lozowiski checking in at about 6'4", 300 pounds, maybe inside of that Nico Palazetti weight program, tipping up closer to 315. So Xavier Lozowicki, I think, is a guy to watch at that right tackle position. Can he push DeAndre Buford? Will anybody push DeAndre Buford and end up putting out the best 5 possible linemen along that offensive line? Neil, it will. I think the quarterback play will ultimately just be better overall because of the improvement of the offensive line and the depth that you mentioned improving. We had CBS Sports' Bud Elliott noting that Cincinnati was one of his 5 most improved offensive lines in the FBS from year to year. So I think the quarterback play will improve in that sense, but ultimately, how well can they protect Brendan Sorsby or whoever it's going to be back there? It's going to be really, really huge and a big storyline to watch. Take a quick break here on Bearcat Blitz. We'll get back to a massive, massive commit potentially this coming weekend for a Cincinnati class that keeps dribbling down the national rankings from the 60s into the 70s into they're pacing towards close to the 80s if there's some action that doesn't start happening over the next few weeks and months in the 2025 class. That and UC basketball, they just keep on cooking, leaving football recruiting in the dust right now. They are dicing, wheeling, and dealing and making sure to be in the mix with a lot of high-level talent, top 40 talent, really seemingly all across the board when you look at their targets and the latest target who has put UC in his top 9. We'll get to that in just a moment here on Bearcat Blitz. Coming back here on Bearcat Blitz, Russ Heltman, Neil Meyer of Cincinnati Bearcats on SI here with you all. And you can check out some stories there on the latest recruiting news, looking at Gianni Contosis committing this Saturday. We'll start there on the football side of things, keep it going, keep the baton on the gridiron here as the 3-star wide receiver, kind of a mid 3-star, a little bit towards the upper level of the 3-star ranks wide receiver, set to commit this coming weekend, Neil. It's another instance of Cincinnati being in the mix firmly with 2 middling power conference schools. And can they get the job done this time after missing out on Eric Gale, after missing out on Grant Bierman, after losing, like as I mentioned, Gale and Paul Nelson, your 2 hometown heroes there, and not getting a third in Grant Bierman? UC, Indiana, and Pittsburgh appear to be the 3 kind of leading finalists. Maryland mixed in there as well, and possibly Tennessee also. But Neil, this is a battle that UC needs, type of battle that UC needs to start winning. 545th ranked player nationally, 86th ranked wide receiver. It's not a position of need in this class. They already have 3 wide receivers, and he would be their 4th. So you don't necessarily look at it as a massive loss if they're not able to get it done, but it will be another indication that they just aren't quite where they need to be compared to these other power conference schools if Contosis is not locked in this Saturday at 6 p.m. into a Bearcats hat on that live stream. If fans can check that out, I think on YouTube. He's going to stream it live for his commitment. But UC, Indiana, Pittsburgh, those are the kind of 3 warmest teams on 24/7 Sports, his profile. They got to start winning these battles against those type of teams.
Yeah, and as you noticed, obviously, Gianni Contosis is a big-time target. This is someone that they have really made a priority, Russ, over the last year. If you're looking back at the timeline, Cincinnati offered Contosis back in October of this past season. They had him on campus for an official visit back on May 31st, the opening weekend of official visits. As you mentioned, he's rated the 545th player, according to 247, currently rated as a high 3-star, as roughly an 88 overall.
3rd ranked player on 24/7 Sports in Cincinnati's class if you were to commit this weekend.
Yeah, which would be another primetime target for Scott Satterfield and the staff. So it's going to be interesting to see where they come down to. Obviously, it looks like the 2 finalist schools outside of Cincinnati look to be Pitt and Indiana, according to 247. So it's going to be interesting to see what may come on Saturday. But Russ, as you mentioned, this is another big-time target where if you land this, you will instantly make this class higher than what they already are. I believe they're currently sitting at roughly 60, as we both discussed.
67th on 24/7 Sports and in the mid to high 70s nationally average.
Yeah, so this is another one of those recruits where it could jump this class back up and boost this rating just a little bit higher from where they have fallen after losing guys like Eric Gale, Paul Nelson. This could be another big-time recruit, which I know the staff is heavily pursuing, Gianni Contosa. So overall, Saturday is a big day, Russ. Obviously, you mentioned it could be the third, obviously be the fourth wide receiver, but a guy like his caliber there with that size already, 6 foot, 191 pounds, this is another big-time opportunity for Cincinnati to get back into the recruiting realms and really bring this class back together. Obviously, they have 15 members right now. They're still looking to add roughly maybe 4 or 5, get that number up
14,
to
14 hard commits right
14,
now
yep.
in the class.
So they're looking to get that number back up to the 20-21 range, hopefully. But it's going to be interesting, Russ. It's really going to be interesting to see what comes down and what transpires over the next few months with this 2025 recruiting class.
And when you look at it, still hanging firm at just 3 trench players in this class, 1 defensive lineman in Jahari Medlock. So we'll see exactly what happens with this team. Actually, it's not Jahari Medlock, excuse me. He was an offensive tackle, probably going to profile as an offensive tackle prospect. Benny Patterson, the lone defensive lineman in this class, and kind of he's hovering around 86 overall ranking on 24/7 Sports. It's going to be put up or shut up time for this class. You got to start bringing in some of these talents. You got to get this class. And we've heard it from many a Bearcat fan, Neil. People are just not happy. They're not happy with the recruiting. They're not happy with the level of where this class is at right now. And the program has to give them signs that this will start getting raised up. And the only way you can get signs is signs of a commitment and guys putting hats on their head. We'll see what happens this Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern with Gianni Contosis. And then probably a little while before this guy commits, he told Joe Tipton of On3 that he will not be committing until probably in the February period, which is fine. You don't need there's less hand-wringing going on with the Wes Miller side of things and the way he's recruiting, because there are just results and stars to go with those results that are happening over the past couple of years. Wes Miller has built this thing up like a beautiful looking pyramid. They would have made the NCAA tournament last year had they not had the stupid waiver issues that was a one-time just black swan event in college sports. And it, of course, negatively affects Cincinnati, because why wouldn't it? And then they had the injury issues in the back half of the season that just kind of disjointed the whole thing. They would have been a tournament team, in my opinion, had the first part of those things not happened. That was totally in the control of NCAA. You can't control injuries, stuff like that. But all in all, Wes Miller has done a great job with this program so far, and that continues when you look at the likes of a guy in Davion Hannah putting Cincinnati in his top 9 schools to go with Michigan State, Louisville, Alabama, NC State, Ohio State, Pittsburgh, Wisconsin, and Xavier. Those are some heavy hitters in the sport of college basketball, and it's no wonder that he's getting recruited by those types of teams when you're ranked 29th nationally and the 4th best combo guard overall. 6'5" talent Davion Hannah is. He's got a really dynamic set of skills out of Link Academy in Missouri. Neil, this would be a great addition for the Cincinnati Bearcats class, and could be kind of the next marquee guard at Cincinnati were he to pick the Bearcats.
Yeah, and it's worth noting, Russ, too, that there is a lot of family ties to a guy like Davion Hannah. Obviously, assistant coach Drew Adams actually recruited his brother Darius to Bradley, who Cincinnati faced this season. So there's a great relationship there with the family. Obviously, after spending some time there recruiting his brother, Coach Adams is doing a fantastic job there with Davion this time around. But Russ, another thing that's worth noting is Cincinnati's ties to Link Academy. I mean, Wes Miller has done a fantastic job at recruiting some guys out there, going down from the links of Hayden Koval back in the day to Jared Hensley to Tyler McKinley. And now you see Davion Hannah make the transfer to Link Academy for his senior year. But looking at all the measurables, Russ, complete combo guard, 6'5", 180 pounds. He's ranked the 29th player in the class of 2025. 4th rated combo guard in his class as well. But you're looking at where his offers are standing. His final 9, you look down, it includes Pittsburgh, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Louisville, Alabama, Arizona State, Auburn, Cincinnati. He's got offers from Creighton as well, Iowa, LSU, Marquette, Michigan State. It goes on and on. But overall, anytime you can land a caliber of a player like Davion Hannah, it's a great day. And we've seen what Wes Miller and this staff have been able to do on the recruiting trails here since coming to Cincinnati. But could this be the opportunity to where they could make this big splash right here in the 2025 portal or in the cycle. It would be really interesting to see how this plays out. But as he told Joe Tipton that he isn't really set on making a commitment until the February period, which probably would be a very smart thing in his case, obviously with the high level of national coverage and where he stands in the recruiting rankings, obviously get through his senior year before he makes that decision to where he'll play his collegiate ball. But he's got a lot of opportunities and a lot of options, but Wes Miller and the Cincinnati Bearcats remain in the top 9, which if you're any kind of UC Bearcat fan, you have to be very happy seeing you're back in the hunt for another top 30 player nationally like they have been for the last few seasons.
No doubt about it. And he will be in town October 12th, the weekend of October. I think that's a weekend of October 12th. I can go ahead and look that up real quick right here. But just exciting times around UC basketball. Yeah, Saturday, October 12th.
And I believe there's a home football game, or that's the away football game versus UCF. So UC football will be on the road that week for his official visit. So there won't be no football game. It wouldn't be something like it was a few years ago when Isaiah Collier came on Nip at Night for his official visit. So overall, they will have him in town, though, according to a couple other sources out there, that it would be October 12th will be his official visit, which is a big opportunity for Wes Miller and the Bearcats.
No doubt about it. And one more thing before we get out of here, got to shout out all of the Olympians, got to name them here, that will be playing or competing in the upcoming summer Paris Olympic Games over the next few weeks. Really, really cool to see this. Jordan Thompson, Annette Echi-Kunwoke, I think I got that right, Vanessa Gills, Chris Borzer, Nikhil Harris, and Ramez Dia are all slated to compete from July 26th through August 11th. Annette is competing in the hammer throw. That starts on August 4th. We have Jordan Thompson playing for USA women's volleyball team, the main volleyball, not the sand volleyball, the main regular volleyball.
She is actually looking to secure her second gold medal too. She got her first one back there in Tokyo in 2020 in her first Olympic appearance as well.
July 29th, that one starts. Vanessa Gills starts with Canada. I don't know if she's going to be starting or not, but she is on the Canadian national soccer team. That starts their group play on July 25th. And then we have, who else? Nikhil Harris going in the 100-meter dash for St. Kitts and Nevis. Those preliminaries start on August 3rd. Chris Borzer on the 100-meter dash as well with the Republic of Haiti. That starts on August 3rd, their prelims. And then Ramez Dia diving, and he will be starting his action on August 9th. So shout out to all those Olympians with the Bearcats, and make sure to check out all those events if you're interested in what the UC Bearcat Olympic contingent can get done. Will be cool to see not only Jordan Thompson go back-to-back, but multiple medals from the Bearcats this time around. Will be very sweet to see, and we'll be checking all that out as the Olympics get ready to roll on Friday, July 26th. For Neil Meyer, I'm Russ Eltman. This has been Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network.
6, Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. Back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race. House call. Touchdown. 79 yards. Big one in the Peach Bowl. This is a big one too. And it's going to go all the way to the house on the first play